Happy birthday, Spencer. I call the committee meeting of facilities to order at 2:49 on March 17th. First order of business is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any corrections or objections? All right, seeing none, those are moved. This time we'll jump right into the agenda. We have a informational session by Commissioner Voss, and I would welcome him up at this time.
Where would you like me to sit?
Right at the end, head of the table.
Good afternoon. My name is Marty Voss. I'm the Commissioner of the Onondaga County Department of Transportation. I brought you guys some maps. These are actually revised because we had a couple little changes in 2025 based on some jurisdictional stuff we did. So that's kind of going to be the baseline of this. Chad sent me a list of questions.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm prepared to explain and answer those questions, and then be happy to take any follow-up that you might have. So if you open this up, these are produced by our friends at the SMTC. They worked with us and the state and the city of Syracuse to not only produce maps, but they do studies, they do those meetings, and probably most importantly, they are the vehicle by which we secure all of our federal funding that supports department projects. So the way we operate DOT is, if you take a look at this map, we have 4 sections of the county. So if you just draw a circle around the city of Syracuse, and then draw a line north, south, east, and west, you'll see I have our 4 shops on here highlighted. This is the north area facility at 6230 East Moy Road, out by the airport. It's called North Area because it's always been called North Area, and that's the one that services generally Cicero, the eastern part of Clay, northern part of Manlius, DeWitt, and Salina. The section, that's section 2. Section 3 is in the Warner's area off of Pottery Road. That's the facility that was just finished being rebuilt in 2018. We had a ribbon cutting. Some of you were there for that, if you remember. Brian, I think you were there. So that area services the western part of Clay, Lysander, Van Buren, Elbridge, and the northern part of Camillus, and some of Getz. Go south a little bit to Marcellus. Our shop is on the main drag in the village of Marcellus. We share that facility, or parts of that facility, that overall facility, with the town of Marcellus Highway Department. We share a salt barn with them, and that facility services the town's southern part of Elbridge, Camillus, town of Onondaga, Marcellus, Skaneateles, San Francisco. And then if you move over to the main shop in the southeast quadrant is the Jamesville shop, which is our biggest facility. That's where our heavy equipment and our welding shop are. That's a huge facility. That's the one that services DeWitt, southern part of Manlius, Pompey, Fabius, Lafayette, and certain parts of Kelly. So from these shops, we provide snow and ice removal throughout the winter. We provide vehicle maintenance for our own fleet. We have fueling stations. We have salt barns, and that's how we operate. In 2023, we moved our administrative and engineering offices out of the Civic Center, and we relocated to 10,000 square feet of vacant office space that we renovated during COVID. It's actually Odine Dyer's project during COVID. Did a great job on it. Some of you have been there. I know Mo's been there. I think you've been out there. It's a modern, very efficient facility. Gives not only our consultants and our customers, our constituents, the people that want to ask questions, get permits, a lot of contractors, they can get in and out a lot easier on Moy Road than coming down to the Civic Center to get a permit. So it works out well for everyone. And it keeps us a little closer to what's going on in the winter. Because I spend a good amount of time with our friend Dan Weirs over at the DOC and monitoring ongoing weather conditions like this morning, which was loads of fun. So that's kind of where we are, and there should be enough maps there for your staff and anybody else who wants them. We have more if you need them. SMTC prints thousands of them, so we can get you more if you need them. and I'll give this to, how about this will be my gift to you, Chad.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna give you my marked up map, and my little gift to you.
Oh, you're the best. I appreciate you.
Should you autograph it?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Perfect.
with that, I got Chad's questions and I made some notes. You know, right now we have no leadership vacancies. It's myself, and then I have two deputy commissioners. James Svenskin, who's a PE, oversees our engineering division. And then Adam George, who's also a PE, came over from Wet when Odine left. And Adam is also, oversees our operations and maintenance. So our own internal facilities, equipment. He oversees the fleet division. He oversees the actual capital projects at the buildings that we own and the properties that we own. Manages the CIP. And then from there, we have section foremen at each of the 4 shops. We have highway section supervisors who work in the winter. Those are management level positions, and there's 3 of them, and they work an alternating 12-hour shift, basically from October to April. So we always have coverage. We always have eyes on the road. And we do have a lot of really high-tech software and apps and all kinds of stuff, but we've learned over decades of this, and this comes long before me, that there's a certain part of winter operations that you're just not going to get without having an actual human being out there in a vehicle monitoring where wind spots are. And if you live in, like where Rich lives, or you live where I live on a hill, wind spots can pop up in places where they don't normally, or you can't predict from one storm to the next where they're going to be. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is we like to have 24/7 coverage, because from October to about late April, early May, we run on 2 shifts, 6 to 2 and 2 to 10 or 12. And that's how we keep the roads clear and in good condition. So that's our sort of structure. Our engineering division is also headquartered out of Malloy Road. We have a team of 18 engineers and various progressions in the title series that do design work, design review work, and administer our federal aid program, which is the bread and butter of how we operate our department. The current operating and capital budgets are generally in the realm of about $59 million for the department operating, and our capital budget is about $32 million for the current 2026 year. So the way we do our budget is, and it was established long before me, long before Commissioner Donnelly, we come in for a budget in the fall with everyone else as a county department, and we ask for what we anticipate our capital needs are in the CIP. We then come back because we don't have all of our construction invoices in. We don't really know where we are until the end of the season when everything balances, and the timing doesn't line up with your budget. So we wait and do what's called our work plan that we bring in to committees in April in anticipation of being passed at the May session. So we're working on that now. We're developing what the work plan will be, and we have a few high-level projects that are going to be in that work plan description. Any major project, like replacing John Glenn Boulevard bridges, for example, that's a 5-year project from the minute you identify that the project needs to happen, that there's either a need for an increased capacity or the infrastructure itself is failing or starting to fail. With bridges, you want to get them when they're starting to fail. You don't want to get them when they're actually failing. So from that moment in time when the decision is made to go forward, it's 5 years till construction's done because of the way the federal aid system works, the way the state reimbursement system works. So it's not super nimble, but when you figure out what the actual financials are, it makes a lot of sense. And what I mean by that is for every dollar we spend, 85 cents of that comes from the federal government. 10 cents of that comes from the state government. So the county's kick-in or match is 5 cents for every dollar on federal aid projects. So when we have these big ticket $16, $17 million projects, it seems like a lot, but when you realize where the bulk of that money's coming from, it's a pretty good deal. That 5% in local funds leverages, 95 cents in federal and state aid. So those are a good deal. And we'll have that all broken out in a sheet next month when we come back to Facilities Committee, and Penny will have much more detail, and we'll get more into the weeds on that. The current staffing level, authorized versus filled, We have 167 authorized positions. I checked Friday, we have 163 people on the payroll. And that's, fairly well divided among the 4 shops in terms of field staff. And then obviously the engineering staff is all in one location. Major projects or initiatives, we can look at some of the things we did last 2 years. Old Liverpool Road project. That was actually, we did that a year early to renovate or to rehabilitate and rebuild Old Liverpool Road from the city of Syracuse line all the way up to Electronics Parkway. That was a big project. That was one that was finished. This year we've got Bear Road, we've got part of Route 57. We have a number of bridge projects already that we're trying to get going now. Lakeshore Road Bridge over Maple Creek, the Limestone Plaza Bridge in Fayetteville has already drawn some public interest because that's going to be a disruptive project in the village of Fayetteville. Tuttle Road Bridge in Cicero is finally going to get done. We've been working on that since I got to DOT. There's been a host of environmental issues, but we're ready to go with that one now. And then a couple other smaller bridge projects. And when I come in April, we'll have not only the financial breakdown of where all the money comes from, so it'll say federal, state, local dollars, and then the local dollars will be cash from the budget or the bond that we're asking for, because we asked for 2 bonds. We asked for a highway bond and a bridge bond. The highway bond goes for paving and matching funds. We need to have that 5% to cover our share of the federal aid. And we have to have, the state comptroller requires that we have resolutions adopted by the legislature to receive to accept federal money and to accept state money. So that's why we're going to try to get as many of them together as we can for that one session, but there may be a couple of hangers on that we have to do June, July, August.
Is there a deadline for any of that stuff?
No, it's rolling. It's on a 5-year rolling cycle. So it's a matter of when we can get all the engineering reports in, when Penny can get all the financial data, and when we can get accurate estimates. The last few years have been very volatile in terms of pricing. Engineers' estimates and actual construction costs, the gap between, perception and reality has widened a little bit. So we have to be careful. We're very conservative with how we budget anyway, just to be careful to make sure we don't have to keep coming back asking for money. And, to answer your other question, Chad, from number 2, the 10 years I've been at DOT, we have not exceeded our budget. So, and we don't plan on starting anytime soon. We do bake in a good amount of overtime because winter happens. And, we're either going to pay it in salary if we're fully staffed, or we're going to pay it in overtime if we're not fully staffed. So the last few years has been sort of a blend. I would prefer that we be fully staffed and be able to use overtime more judiciously, but it kind of is what it is. These are highly skilled drivers for the most part, a couple notable exceptions. But for the most part, they're very good at what they do, and they need to be compensated fairly.
Can I ask a question about what you just said right there? Are you having trouble? We talked about this, I think, a year or so ago with CDL driver retention because of pay differences from the private sector and what we pay?
It wasn't so much the private sector, Rich. It was the towns and the villages were paying a lot more to start. The state actually pays less than we do, but we've been able to. We did a couple of things, and Ken, you were here on the ledge, and we did those. We created a winter incentive, a winter premium incentive that we're still paying from November to April. And then I think it was 2 years ago, everyone involved in snow and ice removal, we were able to, you can do this once. We changed their title from MEO to match the state titles, which are heavy HMW1 and HMW2. So that got them a 2 pay grade bump. Now with that 2 pay grade bump, their overtime rate also goes up. So they're doing better now.
Good.
So the retention has been okay. Good. We've been able to retain people. Our fight now is, they're my age and your age, Rich. They're not going to be here forever. They're in their 50s.
What do you say?
It would be great if we could grow
Got a bunch of 20.
some drivers in their 20s. So to that end, last year, 2 years ago, Ayana came up with the idea and we pushed it through here, and you guys were supportive, and it's actually worked out really well for us. We have training titles now. So we have a grade 4 MEO trainee at each shop, which some of them take 4 months, some of them take 6 months, some of them take right up to the 12th month. But if we get them in and we can train them ourselves, we can promote them right away. Now, it requires a little ballet to make sure we've got permission to fill and we've got a position for them waiting, but those are internal problems we can solve. The bigger thing is finding people that want to do this work, that can pass the pre-employment drug screen, and who are willing to put the time in to get the CDL. But we're not having, and I want to knock on wood, because we're not having the exodus that we had
Good.
to the town of Van Buren and the town of Cicero a few years ago, where they were starting people at $6 or $7 more an hour than we were. We just can't compete with that. You know, we're going to lose people to National Grid. That just is what it is. They have a knack for finding our highest and best skilled drivers and equipment operators, and they steal them. But that's always been the case, and that's not going to change.
Go ahead. Thank you.
So the maintenance and capital needs, when I first was put in this job, we had 2 facilities that were falling apart, and Commissioner Donnelly had done a remarkable job of getting those queued up for me to deal with. So we had Camillus and North Area needed attention. The buildings are old. North Area is full of asbestos. Camillus was literally falling apart. The plumbing had caved in. So over a period of about 5 years, we were able to deal with those with the support of legislature to get Camillus completely torn down to the dirt, all new plumbing, all new septic, all new facility. So that building is literally about 4 years old now. And North Area, when we costed out after COVID what the price would be if it was still constructible, we did a constructability. I had Archie help me out with that. And we discovered that the cost of actually tearing that building down, it's the old UPS facility on Malloy Road. You were there when you were with the sheriffs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So it was in bad shape. You know, mice, rats, vermin. It's an old leaky building. We figured out that the constructability was going to be, you know, a $12 million project had all of a sudden become a $20 million project. And our consultant at the time, who's no longer our consultant, said, well, just go to your legislature and get more money. I said, no, that's not how this works. We told them it was going to cost this much. This is what we had to spend. So instead, again, Odine took a look at it piece by piece and figured out, wait a minute, we can do the roof for this. We can get rid of the asbestos for this. And Lisa Dell was the clerk then. She cleared out 10,000 square feet of old, dirty, dusty boxes. And we said, wait a minute, we can renovate this too. The bones of this building are good. It's a solid building. So we renovated instead of tearing down. And we saved, you know, anywhere between $7 and $10 million by doing that. Very pleased with the outcome. The building is fantastic. It works well for us. And it doesn't look over the top from the outside. We kept the kind of the existing exterior because it's a government building. We're using taxpayer dollars. We want to keep it. But functionally, you know, little things like we were able to move the mechanics from small bays where they were on top of each other to a huge, probably 1,000 square foot garage bay now, where they have brand new mobile lifts, those mobile lifts that run around. You put one on each tire, they're great. And the mechanics are much happier there. We do have some ongoing CIP projects, like an air handling unit that we need for North Area. Right now we have our doors being replaced at Marcellus, which is, what's the big deal with doors? It's a very big deal. These are huge bay doors that have to be replaced, and each one of them, there's 42 of them, requires a piece of conduit to run the electricity to them. So our facilities commissioner very graciously has dedicated one of his electricians to us for 3 weeks, and I can't thank him enough for that cooperation, because we've been able to he's been leading the contractor. So they're taking the door down, he puts the conduit in, they put the new door in, and they're doing probably 4 a day. So it's going really well, and that'll be done soon. Adam George is overseeing that project at Marcellus. In terms of policy changes, resources, or legislative actions, I would just ask that you take the time to look at our work plan and understand what we're asking for next month. The 2026 work plan is on our website, and it shows kind of the breakdown that I'm going to show you again next month. I'll show you an updated version next month of what we're proposing prospectively for this year. The 2025 work plan is on our website, excuse me. So that'll show you what we did last year. And not every road that's on there got paved, because we have weather, we have contractor issues, we have different things that pop up. But that all rolls over anyway. So anything that was on last year's is still on the docket to get done this year. We usually just bump it up to the front. And then as soon as the plant's open in April, we get them going. You know, take a minute and look at what that is. That work plan will show you at the beginning the financial breakdown of where all the money comes from and where it goes. And then it'll also show you after that, there's a narrative on each of the federal aid projects to show you the bigger ticket stuff why we're doing it, what the study was that determined this was the best solution from the experts at SMTC and our own consultants, and then what the projected timeline for each of those is. And then you'll see our smaller CIP stuff like the air handling unit and other things kind of baked in there at the bottom. We have other stuff like traffic systems management. You know, that's the systems that monitor the intersections for signalization, timing, and synchronization. We share that with the Sheriff's Department, obviously, for obvious reasons. There's other pieces in there, guide rail, things like that. You know, we do struggle from time to time with, you know, for a couple years right after COVID, anything that had metal in it was impossible to get your hands on. Right now, it's microchips. You know, we're 2 years behind on vehicle deliveries because every snowplow we buy now has microchips in it that control not only the engine and the function of that, but also all the apparatus that goes onto it. So everything is slow right now still. You know, the light at the end of the tunnel is if there's more domestic manufacture of that stuff, hopefully that'll expedite our ability to buy stuff. We do work with our purchasing department to do what are called letters of intent. So the minute the legislature adopts a budget and it's signed, and we know we have money for heavy equipment, we put our orders in with that letter of intent and we show them that we have the money in our budget. We just can't touch it till January 1, but that gets us to the front of the line for ordering. So that's what we've tried to do to be creative to get our equipment faster. We've tried to offload some of the bigger ticket purchases like a paint striper, like a grade all, to one-time revenues. I believe we used, was it ARPA we used for the grade all?
I got chips.
Okay. We used ARPA for one and chips for the
Yeah, we
other.
did.
So we're able to get, these are $1 million pieces of equipment that we need. And we're able to try to always use resources that don't require asking the legislature for cash out of the levy. So that's kind of where we're going. The only thing we can't use those for is snowplows, though, right? Yeah. So snowplows are excluded from eligibility.
I see that I've been interacting with the Highway Superintendents Association. I see there's a big increase ask in the CHIPS funding from New York State. And the Senate is looking at 250 million. Does that make a substantive difference when it's all spread out?
That'd be great. That's
for you
formula
guys?
driven, yeah.
Right.
So when we put our work plan together, we take what we call the baseline chips, and Penny punches in, you know, $6 or $7 million that we're pretty sure we're going to get. And I don't think I'm going to shock anyone here when I tell you, in an even numbered year when there's an election, there's always extra money in those accounts. I don't know what the factor is behind it.
Coincidence.
So the last few years, it's been cyclical that, you know, even numbered year, the chips goes up, odd number goes back to baseline. You know, our trick, the kind of trick we're going to try to do is when I come in April 21st, ideally the state budget would be adopted and we would know what those numbers are, and I can ask our good state senator to send me the runs as soon as he gets them. And we could bake those into our work plan before, if we have time. If they still haven't adopted a budget by April 15, 16, we're going to be guessing, and I'm going to have to come back in the fall or in the summer when we know what the real numbers are. But we'll still put that baseline in because we know we're pretty sure we're good for that.
Thank you.
Okay. The road reconstruction, do we have a comprehensive list of the grading of our roads? Is that something accessible or?
We have an internal list that we use we have multiple ways we do that. Number one, we have 2 engineering staff who run the paving program who drive every road in the county every year. Every single road, all 802 miles. That's Tim Coley and Mark Shaw. We also have a consultant who does GPR, ground penetrating radar, to assess areas of concern. And then, of course, we have the community feedback, I'll call it,
There you go.
of when we hear or see or people are concerned about the condition of a road. You know, we kind of pride ourselves on the fact that if somebody tells us there's a pothole somewhere, we will have someone look at it within a matter of hours. And if there actually is indeed a pothole that needs to be dealt with, we will have it repaired within 24 hours in most cases. Same thing with mailboxes, because we've learned over years and years and years that promptly responding to those things saves everybody, including people in this room, a lot of headache if we can just take care of it. So overall, if you look, and SMTC also does some road study work for us. You know, ours really never get below a 6 or 7. We're pretty aggressive about staying on top of that. you know, I guess I would offer to all of you, you know, in looking at the maps I just gave you, those roads that are marked in red, and this is noted in the legend on there, those are the roads that we have jurisdiction over. Those are the county highways that we're responsible for and that we can actually spend money on. If you or one of your constituents sees or hears or feels like something isn't up to that level, I would ask that you let us know. I mean, we're pretty aggressive about tracking that and staying on top of it.
Perfect. Questions?
That brings me to a question. Do you have a list of county roads and county bridges that we could have to look at?
Yeah, it's the
quickly?
map.
The map, right. I'll hand that to my constituent then.
Yeah, we have more if you need them.
Any other legislators with questions? Thank you so much, Commissioner. Appreciate you.
My pleasure.
All righty. Quick,
No, this is my notes.
okay.
Yeah, it's just my handwritten notes.
Quick shameless plug here. The Facilities Committee has something to do with Erie Canal Museum. They're in the capital improvement plan for some work to be done, so thank you to the administration for including that last year. That work is gonna start here. If anybody would like to go check out the facility, they are looking for bodies to help move stuff out of the attic. And they are obviously in desperate need if they're asking me. So, that is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 10 to 12 and 2 to 4 this week. So if anybody, you know, that can lift a couple of boxes and would like to be helpful to our great Erie Canal Museum, please attend those times. And I can share those with anybody that wants to. Okay, thank you. We will move on to Friends of the Aquarium. You know, I'm not really sure who I want, to be totally honest with you. Would you like to come sit up front? All right. So this is, my first crack at anything aquarium related, so excuse my ignorance or anything that I ask that may be redundant. Inexperience, we'll use inexperience. So, Mr. Gilberti.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is William Gilberti. I'm the chairman of the Friends of the Aquarium.
All righty. And who else is on that body?
Pastor DiCardo is a member of the board. Andrea Autry is a member of the board. David Botar is a member of the board. Myself, Isabel Harris, Brian Kelly, Julie Abbott.
Okay.
It should be 9, is that? Archie Wixon.
I'm Joe Viteschi, by the way, too.
Yes, we met, yes. Are you a voting member? on the- Okay, just the
9 board
attorney.
members.
Okay.
Bylaws.
Brian,
It
Isabel,
should be 9.
Archie. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm missing some. All right, I got Mr. Gilberti, Pastor, Andrea, David, Isabel, Brian, Archie,
Did you get Julie Abbott?
Julie. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So, really what we're trying to find out is a little bit about Friends of the Aquarium. So, what is it that you guys are doing?
What is it? I'm sorry.
That you guys are doing?
Well, we were incorporated in March of 2024. At that time, the initial incorporators were appointed. The board came into existence. At that time, Mr. Fox, Chairman Fox, was the chair of the board at that time. I did not become chair until September of 2024, after Chairman Fox retired. So my tenure has really been since September of 2024 forward. Our purposes are for the growth and development of the aquarium. for the educational, environmental, stewardship programs, and moving those issues forward, as well as for the benefit of the community, and then for fundraising.
Perfect. Okay. So to speak to the fundraising, I guess we'll go there. What have you raised?
I don't have I believe you have, the committee should have received a report.
So we
from the
received
treasurer,
a
and
report.
those numbers should be on that report.
Okay. Let me see here. I believe it came from Christie, if I'm not mistaken. Am I mistaken? All right. Pretty small.
You have it?
I got it, yeah. So we got amount pledge, 7.669,769.94. We've received 7.44.769.94. So about 7.6, and we've got 7.4, we got 225 outstanding, amount transferred to Onondaga County. How does that work, just from my understanding? So you get the money, you transfer it to the county, and they are doing what with it?
That's really not in the purview of Friends of the Aquarium, but we are donating the money to the county for purposes of at this point in time, development of the aquarium, and certainly all the other programs, all the other purposes which we stand for. But at the stage we're in right now, we're in the early stages of construction, as you know, or mid stages of construction.
So these are all for construction. Are any of these earmarked for specific projects within the aquarium?
Are you asking right now about the monies that have been either raised through donations or grants, or are you asking about the monies that we've provided to the, because there's about, like you said, about 7.6 million.
I'm asking them
That
all,
we've
so whatever
raised.
you can share would be.
So perhaps then, to clarify a little bit, of the 7.5 plus or minus dollars, certainly go by the report that our county treasurer gave you for the exact numbers. Of that amount, most of that is through donations. Some of it was through grants that we received. And about 5.9 million of that was then donated to the county from the purposes, or pursuant to the purposes of our organization, which was for right now, the development of the aquarium, since we're not yet in the growth stage, since it's not built yet. So that's what we did with the money.
Do you have a breakdown of grants versus donations?
We certainly are aware of the amount of grants and donations we have per party that was either the donor or the grantor, yes.
Okay. Can you share that with this body?
I can't, it's a matter of public record, I believe, that grants were granted by the Onondaga County Development Corporation to our organization. The donors, I cannot, unless I have their permission.
Okay. Questions from legislators?
I have a couple on donors. What's the approximate number of donors that have contributed to the Friends Group?
It was on the report, I believe. It was 40.
They didn't share it with him.
Okay.
Yeah, the report that was delivered to the I believe it said.
It wasn't delivered to him.
Oh, okay.
Who got it?
Mo asked for it, and I happened to be CC'd on it, so I got it, but I wasn't openly shared with all the legislators.
So if it's so 7.6, about 7.6 million has been taken in. Was that through donations? Is that correct?
Donations and grants.
And, okay, and we don't have a breakdown on donations versus grants?
I don't have the precise dollar amount breakdown, but it's approximately 1,250,000 in grants, and the rest would be donations.
Okay, so.
Any other legislators with questions?
I'm gonna have a couple in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you ready?
okay.
Please.
Sir, my question is, what do you see the role of the Friends of the Aquarium going forward as the project begins to open as far as fundraising? Like, where do you plan on spending money going forward or raising money?
Um, I'll take the latter first. So as it, you know, we went live with our website a few weeks ago. I hope everybody has seen that, and if you don't, I encourage you to take a look at it. Right now, it's a good poster board to keep aware of what the activities that are occurring as we move forward. Excitement is building. There's no question. We've been approached by. We have a list of individuals and organizations that want to contribute. And we want to play off that excitement with respect to fundraising. We have made our first investment into what we call our aquatic population. You just don't get to the day you open the doors of the aquarium and then expect to go out and have your fish arrive. So we are working with the management group that was retained to manage the aquariums, the Oceanarium, and they are a global organization that manage many aquariums around the globe. And through their resources, we've been able to start our aquatic population. So we're thinking of a number of activities for fundraising associated with the arrival of some great species that would be fun and exciting for people to see and want to see. And then we have a lot of other activities planned like that in the prior to construction being completed. Then once construction is completed, the venues are available inside the aquarium for a number of fundraising events and things of that nature. From the board's perspective, the monies will be raised for purposes of our stated purposes, the growth and development of the aquarium, especially highlighting education. As you may be aware that our county executive challenged the children of Onondaga County to name the aquarium. So all of the children in the entire county and within their school districts are right now busying away with gathering their selected names and getting them to their principals, ultimately their superintendents, and hopefully it's created quite a buzz in and of itself. I think we'd like to do some of our funds that we raise. We'd like to do something for the children of the county as that were involved in this effort as we select the name, et cetera, and things of that nature.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question. You mentioned the website being one thing that spending was going towards, but you mentioned the acquisition of species of fish and things of that nature. Do you foresee any more of those purchases coming up, or are we all set on purchasing fish going forward? When do you think we'll be having to pay for that again? And then how much are we expecting that to be?
We rely entirely on our outside professionals who, in this instance, Zoo Oceanarium, with respect to the entire world of creating our aquatic population, which was both be saltwater and freshwater fish. The saltwater fish are dozens and dozens of varied species from all over the world. I believe it'd be fair to say that conservatively, at least 70% of them are wild captured somewhere in the world. And then once they're wild captured, Zoo Oceanarium uses requires, and the county required, or Friends of the Aquarium required, and through us, the county required that we use the highest standards of humanitarian and ethical approaches with respect to capture of our fish population. They are then quarantined where they're captured. They're biologists and aquarists and begin to work with ours here, and they talk about what they've captured, what receiving waters they're in. Then we can begin to get ready our waters here. When when they're transported here, they'll go into first quarantine tanks and then be mixed into the population. The first down payment, all those organizations that we're using that are the best in the world, according to the Zoo Oceanarium, they certainly have all the credentials to be the best in the world. And we rely on Zoo Oceanarium for that. Their requirements are 50% down for the first order that we placed, and that was about $250,000. It's plus or minus $10,000. It could be 256 or something like that. And so that was 50% of that first purchase of our saltwater aquatic population. We'll see when we get to how successful it's been, whether or not all the species that we wanted to purchase that bring the attraction and bring the population and are acquired, and then we understand that from their perspective that we'll get more information from them as to whether further investment is needed at that level. But we rely totally on them because they know what they're doing.
Thank you.
I had a couple quick ones. Do we have an opening date for the aquarium set? Do you know?
We don't, as Friends of the Aquarium, we don't, because we're not involved in the construction.
I understand. And correct me if I'm wrong, it sounded like you had collected how much of the money that had been pledged so far? Was it a little bit over 7?
It's about 255 outstanding.
Okay. Okay. Of the set, I believe 7.6 has been pledged. Was that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Plus or minus, yes. It's
Okay.
between 7.5 and 7.6, and
It's in there.
and all of it's in except, and there's no issue with it's not coming in. There's issues that go along with some of the donations are under contract,
Sure.
et cetera, with the donors and et cetera.
Sure. Going off as some of Legislator Brown's questions, as far as what the expenses are going to be used for, is it anticipated that the Friends group is going to have a role with the aquarium over the longer term, such that some of this fundraising may be used for year-over-year operating costs?
As I understand it right now, that is what it's exactly.
Okay.
I would say the similarity might be Friends of the Zoo.
Sure.
I'm not familiar. I know that Chairman Fox was, but that would be our continuing role.
Bill, let me help you with that. Yeah, certainly we will plan on operating the aquarium with that 501c3 board, just as we do at the Rosamond Gifford Zoo. So I'll give you a great example. Costs about, out of our $23 million budget, we get $7 million for you guys to operate the zoo. Actual costs are in the $11, $12 million range. Where that subsidy comes in is the Friends group throughout the year subsidizing for events, programs, maintenance. So we rely on them for lots of stuff. They'll fundraise with programs, but operationally, it's a great resource for us to take care of the house as well.
As far as I know the donor role is famously anonymous. How many people do have access to it, though?
The executive, the committee, the board, and then the entire board, once the board decides on whether or not we're going to go forward with the donation.
Okay, so it is just the board that has access to the donor roll?
That's yes.
Oh, sure.
Yes. We're guided by the requirements that the donor wants. I mean, I'm involved in dozens of 501c3s. All of them have anonymous donors, and they have their own reasons for wanting to remain.
Oh, sure. Well, I think that's
But we know the identity of every donor.
okay.
First, I want to thank you for keeping up with us. I know we're bouncing around a lot of different topics. There's just so much we're curious to know about with the aquarium. So I'm going to try to stay in that ballpark to begin with in terms of the anonymous donors. You said there's a lot of excitement building for people who want to donate, right?
Right.
Has anyone opted to not be anonymous? Of those 42 who have donated, are there any who have come forth and said, hey, we're donating to the aquarium?
I believe once the aquarium opens, you will know the names of several of the donors by virtue of the manner in which they have asked to deal with the aquarium in terms of their donation. But we still have to fulfill that side of it. So we have an obligation to them in accepting their donation under those. So in other words, they
Sure.
may be sponsoring one of the aquatic population in the name of someone who's deceased, for example, and things of that nature. So you would probably know the names of most of them when the aquarium opens, and the purpose for which they donated can then be known. We can then fulfill our side of the agreement with them.
Okay. Um, Legislator Ron, did you want to follow up on that particular topic? Because I'm going to move to a different topic. If you,
I did want to follow up on that particular topic.
in that lane.
How are you going about seeking donors? Like, are you focusing on a particular group of philanthropists, or is it businesses, or are you not at liberty to say, or is it more broad than that?
In my sphere so far, so I became chairman in September of last year. All of the donors have approached us. So they've either approached a legislator and I've gotten a call, or they approached a board member and I've gotten a call, and then Mr. Ferteshi, as our attorney, and I have met with them. So I haven't, of every donor that I can say that I'm aware of, that I've personally dealt with, they've actually approached us to wanting to be involved. That's where I feel comfortable saying there's a lot of excitement there in the community. There seems to be a growing excitement.
Go ahead.
Okay. Going back to the animals themselves, you said that right now a lot of the funding is going towards acquiring them wild caught. Is that correct? The ones that are populating the aquarium are being caught largely in the wild. Is that fair?
According to Zoo Oceanarium, at least 70% of our population that are saltwater will be wild capture.
Okay. Is there a plan? Are you aware of a plan, the Zoo Oceanum? Am I saying that correctly?
Zoo Oceanarium.
Zoo
That's a
Ocean.
tough one.
I'm going to come back to that.
Yeah. Zoo Oceanarium. Just think
I've
of
seen it
zoo-
written, and I've.
Zoo Oceanarium.
Do they plan to continue, like when these animals naturally get to the end of their lifespan, do they continue to wild catch, or are they trying to build a sustainable breeding program so that the offspring of those animals can be the population of the aquarium going forward, or are we going to be participating in something like the species survival plan that the Onondaga, the Rosamond Gifford Zoo?
Brian, say your name and your title.
Brian Kelly, Commissioner Parks. Bill, I'll help you on this one. It's a good question. Yeah, we are going to seek AZA accreditation, just like our zoo is. And once we get that accreditation, we're involved in a SBP, Species Survival Program. Once we get into that, we start dealing with endangered species, breeding populations. There's no cost once we get in that SBP program. These animals come on loan. We breed them, we do something for the population, we keep them for a certain amount of time, and then they go to another aquarium or another zoo. So after we get accredited, a lot of those things will be taking place per the survival program.
And Zoo Oceanarium?
Yep.
They are pursuing AZA because I know that in other states they
They're
don't.
accredited in St. Louis and Dallas, I believe. So that's and part of their contract for us calls for AZA accreditation. Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So they will be.
Of course.
We're holding them to
Yeah,
that.
we're holding them to that. We will hold them to that. Yep.
Very good. I think Legislator Brown has a question for you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can I?
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah. I have another question. Sorry, I feel like I'm grilling you. I do want to echo Legislator Thompson's.
I love talking about
Yeah, I do appreciate you coming to talk to us about this. This is a rare occasion. Not many folks have come to talk to this body about this. So my question is about the donors. Are any of them sustaining? So, like, are these one-time donors that they're only going to donate this year? Commissioner Kelly alluded to the fact that yearly the Friends has like a gap that their Friends body fills. Like the zoo has a budget gap. my fear is that I really fear this project being a sustaining cost year in and year out. If revenue doesn't, hold up, is is the Friends Group going to be able to bridge that gap annually based on the donations we have now, or will we have to continue seeking out donations?
So based on all the projections we have, it will be sustainable, based on the projections and attendance. The plan is not to have long-term, county resources to it. I'm not saying there will not be donations similar to the Friends of the Zoo. It's not just a gap. There may be different projects that are done. So the Friends will probably still have a role potentially in other education things, but the actual operations maintenance of the facility is planned to be sustainable.
Are any of the donations sustained, like, as of now?
That-
We don't know. Like, has anybody
There's a very little
pledged
difference between operations
annual? Yeah.
and foundation.
Has anyone pledged like annual donations going forward, or all of the donations are one time for specific activities?
The donations that we've had so far are varied, and several of the donors, more significant donors, have mentioned that they would be highly interested in continuing each year. I can't say for how long that would be. I am sure that if we all work together as a community and make the aquarium a success, the more interest they're going to have in it, and the more likely they are going to want to continue with that support.
Yeah, I will say with this legislative body, we like knowing that there's going to be private funding as well as our funding. So if we know there's going to be consistent private funding coming in, I think that would make it a lot easier for us to support this. So knowing that there are at least some does give me some optimism.
Great.
Legislator.
Just one more question on donations. To the extent that you're at liberty to say, and you may not be in that, and I understand, is it possible to give us an idea of the breakdown of donors in terms of, are some individuals, or some businesses, or some foundations, or is that something that you're unable to let us know at this point?
Yes to all three.
The, excuse me, is that quarterly report, Christie, is that 7.6 a quarterly report or an in totality report?
In totality, but I didn't hear them.
So the 7.6, is that, so we're required to get quarterly reports. That'd be a nice quarter, but I'm guessing it's not. So I just wanted to clarify, 7.6 in totality of what you've taken in thus far in your, since this board has been started.
I believe this report that we've just given you is it represents, we have independent auditors, represents the precise total that we took in for the period it's reporting for, which I guess is the quarter.
And were any of the donations made in exchange for naming rights or recognition of signage for the aquarium? And my follow-up to that, it would be, if that's, the case, is there marketing material or public general, say the Ryan Funeral Home wanted to sponsor a tank, I mean, am I paying the same rate as the Bush Funeral Home down the road? How does,
Did you bring your checkbook? I'm just
depends
curious.
on if it's a shark, maybe,
If it's your father Ed asking.
yeah, you ain't getting anything if it's my father Ed, so. So I guess my question is how is that process going for naming rights and signage and being involved with the process,
What I could say is this: is that with the excitement that's growing, the board has not made any decision yet on how it would value naming rights for the aquarium. First, we'd like to find out who's the successful name that the children of Onondaga County named the aquarium, and then somewhat similar to, I guess, the dome. It would be perhaps the JMA, then whatever the name the children come up with of the aquarium. So, but we haven't focused on we have focused on, we haven't identified the exact value we believe. And quite frankly, it continues to increase in our own personal minds, if you want my own personal opinion,
Yeah,
because
I
the
believe it.
excitement continues to grow. And I think it's going to be an exciting venue to be associated with. And I think there's there's already an expression of interest of at least a half a dozen.
Are you going to advertise that, I guess is the question? Are you going to put out there, hey, here's some of the opportunities we have and make it known? Or is that only folks that seek you directly?
Well, I believe at some point in time, the board will, that's a board decision, but at some point in time, we would want to get the maximum value for the naming rights.
So we haven't
So
done it.
my assumption, this is my personal opinion, it would be a board decision. My own personal opinion is we want to get the maximum value for our naming rights for as long a period as we can. It wouldn't be forever. It would be under some period of time. And we would want to let that be known to as many potential interested parties as we could. So we will get that word out there every way we can to make sure that everyone who has that size of an interest is aware of it. I wish I could be more specific, but I don't know because it's a board.
It doesn't sound like you're that far down the road. I guess that was my question of, do we name all this stuff? Are we done with this?
A lot of thought has gone into, by the board, all of these issues. But we are in the midst of construction, so what we're trying to do is make sure we keep the level of excitement growing, and as we get closer, we can continue to refine exactly what our thinking is and how we approach the issue. So we're giving it a lot of thought.
Do you have a target number for what you'd like to raise before the aquarium opens?
I do not.
Okay.
Only-
Would you be good if you didn't get another cent?
Only because it's hard to ever anticipate the heart of a charitable donor. I mean, I don't.
Okay.
I want
You want it all.
I can tell you that there's a lot of excitement though.
Good. So you're on a bunch of 501c3s. This is going to be back to the anonymous donation stuff. Are all of them built the same way where all donations are anonymous? Because that list I got of the quarterly report obviously doesn't have any of that. The question is I'm sure some of those people are okay with it being anonymous, and I'm sure some of them are okay with it being public. Is this unusual in your experience that all of the donations are anonymous and they don't share any of that information publicly?
I'm not sure it's fair to say that all of the donations are anonymous as a conclusion. All of the donations are at a stage where our relationship with the donor is they wouldn't allow the release of their donation yet because we're only in the midst of construction. At the point in time when the aquarium is open, I'm sure I know the same name of many of the donors by the manner in which they've provided for their donation. Some are going to make their donations stay anonymous, and that's their right. It's really the donor's right, both in law and everything else. But I think most of them you'll know the name of. But at this juncture, no donor has said, yes, you can use my name. And we wouldn't want to certainly do anything that would deter from the excitement that's building in donations.
So just for my clarification, when you say in law, they're allowed that right to not have their name released, that is a federal law, right?
I'd have to ask, County Attorney Durr to speak to that, but I believe there's case law on it, and I can't tell you whether there's a specific statute as well.
I guess I'm just trying to find out what governing part was done by the legislature here and what part is, done at the.
That is a Supreme Court decision that says that.
Oh, you gotta identify yourself, Bob. Hey, the girls don't allow that. That's not allowed here, so.
Yes, I'm Bob Durham, the county attorney. So there's a specific federal court case, U.S. Supreme Court, that backs the anonymity of donors, and it's also in the IRS code.
So what was it that the legislature did, if that was already in place before, that made donations anonymous? Well, explain to me that part of it.
What do you mean?
Didn't they pass something last year to make donations anonymous?
I think they did not include anything regarding the reporting of donors because they were aware at that time of the federal court case and the IRS code. So I spoke to them specifically on that at that time, and there was no inclusion of disclosure of donors because it was in contrary to federal law and IRS code.
So if we were, and nobody has discussed this at all, but if we were to relook at that law and change something, what would we be allowed to do and not allowed to do?
Well, you wouldn't be allowed to, I mean, you could do whatever you want to do, but the question would be whether it would stand up to, a test. And the test, the rule of the law or of the land is the U.S. Supreme Court. So the U.S. Supreme Court says anonymous donations are allowed, and it's a part of the First Amendment free speech it's analogous to, and the IRS code says the same thing.
Can you provide that to us, the Supreme Court case as well as the IRS code?
I can give you a second.
Thank you.
Sure.
So to that point, obviously, if those donors say, hey, it's anonymous, it sounds like it's
They
protected.
can assert their right.
But if they
And-
didn't say that when they met with the Friends, that's now anonymous because of what the county ledge did previously.
No, not necessarily. I wouldn't say that. It's anonymous because my understanding at this point in time, nobody wants their names released because they're still, some funds haven't been received. Some people are waiting until there's completion of the aquarium. But I would say that once the aquarium is complete, there's going to be a lot of those donors that aren't going to want to stay anonymous. But at this point in time, we don't have any authority to release any names.
Legislator.
Based on what you're saying, if that IRS code or like if that was overturned, we would be able to immediately
Yeah, if you
release.
want to go to the Supreme Court of the United
Yeah,
States.
I do.
Overturn it.
I'm thinking about
Take a
it. I
shot.
would like to, that's why I want the case law.
Okay. I'll
Thank
send
you.
it to you. Good
Please
luck.
do. Thank you.
Legislator Bush.
That ruling pertains to donations to governments, public.
It pertains to donations to anywhere. I mean, it pertains to Syracuse University, it pertains to the University Museum, it pertains to the MOS, it pertains to Lemoyne. You go in any of those institutions and you're going to look at the plaques on the wall, and a lot of them are going to say anonymous.
I understand that, but government needs to be transparent, and people need to know the flow of funds in and out of government. And so it's not the Everson, or it's not.
Well, the Everson's owned by the government,
Well,
and so,
okay.
so is the zoo, and that has anonymous donations. So
Okay,
that's
well,
been,
I'm just questioning.
no, I understand that.
The ruling pertains to governmental agencies
The
and
ru-
governments.
The ruling pertains to everything. It pertains to all institutions, anything
we-
that accepts.
We wouldn't have needed to pass that resolution last year.
My other question is so these, once it's finished, we're talking about, a bunch of this information coming out. What protects that? Like, is that just we are choosing to allow this to stay private till that day? Or I guess, what's that? Why do we come up with that arbitrary day of whatever day the aquarium decides to open?
I don't know. I think that's between the donors and the aquarium board. My understanding is that
Is that stuff written in the contract when you do the donations? Does it say we will not release anything without your permission or until the date of the opening?
Where there's a contract that would say that, where there's not a contract, that was our understanding, it was our commitment to the donors as well. That we have to fulfill our side of it. They're donating for there to be an aquarium.
Yeah.
So, once the aquarium's open, then those that don't choose to be anonymous from that point forward. We're a 501c3 corporation, not-for-profit corporation. So I think that I understand, all of the questions, but I think you might want to check and poll every 501c3 that exists in the county, because if all of them were told that they're anonymous donors, have decided that they have to become known, I think there would be a rather significant uproar. Because it could be used by analogy. Any member of any 501c3 could then say to their 501c3 that the county's passed a law that you can't be anonymous anymore. I'm not so sure that's for your decision to make, not mine. But,
Minority Leader?
Thank you. Thank you. Two things, I think. Just because the question came up, and I'm very confused by it. There was no action by the legislature making donations anonymous. The legislature was, for all intents and purposes, silent on the issue on the basis of the fact that there is case law.
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to clarify that because I think that's important.
At the time, the legislature
the legislature
understood.
did nothing to, it almost sounded like an implication that the legislature did something
No.
to do that. I want to make sure that's clear, number one. Number two, and this is a bit of a rhetorical question. What is the interest in who the donors are? These are private individuals or businesses that have elected to give their money, resources in a manner which is probably still under significant negotiation. I would expect in terms of how that money will be donated, when it will be provided, and how it will be applied, whether there's naming rights or not. This is an ongoing thing. I think you explained that very well, and thank you for that. My question is rhetorical, unless someone wants to answer it. Why are we so interested in how individuals are donating? And that's, if you don't mind.
I don't mind
I'm just trying to
personally. I mean,
scratch
I
the
just sit
conversation.
there and wonder, who the donators are, what, are these county contractors who then donate $1 million and throw it on the back end of a roadwork construction contract next year, And do I think they're doing that? I don't think this administration would do that, I really don't. But, we are stewards of public dollars and, running into a situation where we don't know where these dollars are coming from. And if 80% of them are people that do business with the county, how do we know they're not getting it on the back end with their county contracts the following year?
If that's, all due respect, if that's the implication, why aren't we just asking that question?
I would just, I mean, I think, I think if we just shared the list of who the donors were, it would answer that question.
Well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Just going to rhetorically answer the question that constituents are asking about this, the people that I represent. So just fundamentally, if a bunch of people I represent are asking me a question about government spending, I want to give them an answer, and I can't.
I think everybody should understand this, and it's very important, that these donors are not anonymous to the board. The board knows who the donors are, obviously, to accept those funds. The board has an ethical obligation to screen these people. The board they're also under the auspices and have to abide by our ethics law. And our ethics law clearly states what the board needs to do and disclose. So you do have that safeguard. And the anonymity is, I mean, it's the law of the land. I don't see how you're going to change that, but you have to rely on the process. And the process is the board knows they're not going to take money from a Colombian drug lord or anybody of that ilk. And, they are bound by the ethical constraints of the ethics law. So.
And I'd like to ask, why is there not this much concern about Friends of Rosamond Gifford Zoo? Why is there not this much concern or brought up about Everson Museum if there's a 501c3? I think this is just politicizing the quote-unquote controversy of the aquarium. And I haven't heard discussion asking for donor lists. The transparency comes in how the money is spent. If I'm understanding correct, you're raising the money, giving it to the county to build, maintain, and promote the aquarium. And that is your mission. And I think the donors should be protected. It's their legal right. And the transparency comes in how the county spends the money, which we will be able to see.
Legislator, to answer that, Legislator Brown did ask those and was offered nothing. And so, being new to this, we are asking for those quarterly reports that have been, I guess we're up for interpretation. I mean, the local laws, as I read it, as a non-lawyer, say they are to provide quarterly reports from all the Friends groups. The legislature has not asked for that for however long. I think I think it's obvious that the aquarium is a little different animal than the rest of them. We did request all of them across the board. The only one we got in that, thing was the aquarium. They ignored the rest and said they didn't have to. Go ahead, Brian.
Nobody ignored your request. As we put in the email for the other Friends groups, is that any donation that is under a certain amount has to be, if it's between 1,500 and 10,000, it has to be disclosed in a quarterly report. We haven't received any. They were over $10,000. They were brought to the legislature for their acceptance. And we said in the email, we didn't have any donations that were in that level for those other friends groups. So we did not ignore it.
So is that just for the last quarter, or is that for however long?
To the best of my knowledge, forever long.
Questions from legislators?
Thank you for clarifying that. That was not my understanding, but I do just want to reiterate, we did ask about these, and you did answer. I didn't say you ignored me. You gave me a literal answer, and I appreciate that.
Well, but that was a statement on,
Yeah, yeah.
just on the floor.
And you responded to it, and I appreciate that, which is why I'm responding to the statement on the floor that we didn't ask about those other ones, because we did. Thank you.
Questions from legislators?
I can respond to one of the previous comments about why this and not the zoo, and that is that the zoo is popular. People like the zoo. This is an entirely the Everson is popular. This is an entirely different animal. This was passed along very narrow, very controversial political lines. A lot of political capital went into the building of the aquarium. A lot of career legacies are on the line with this aquarium, and it is my opinion and I think reasonable conclusion that an objective person might look at this situation and say that a donation to the aquarium is also something that may boost the legacies of folks who spent political capital on said aquarium. And the challenge with not having access to the donor rolls, especially for this legislature, for the public. I won't address the 501c3 rules of the Supreme Court case. I'm certainly not here to try to undo anything that the Supreme Court may have said. But I think the challenge for this legislature is we are obviously tasked with spending public money. We are tasked with those expenses. And if we are not aware, we go into those expenses blind relative to those donations, which means that when we approve spending, if we approve expenses on a contract, we don't know if the person who's receiving that money also gave a donation to the aquarium. And perhaps, I don't know, I can't get inside someone's head, but there is a world, we don't know the motives of people who donate. I did the math. The average donation is $150,000, roughly, based on the donated amount and the number of donors. It's about $150,000. Nobody I know has $150,000 spared. Normal people don't have a spare $150,000. That's the concern, is that this legislature that is tasked with spending money will be fully unable to check who is getting money versus who donated to the aquarium and ask questions like, is it a possibility that folks who donated to the aquarium were doing so with, something else in mind other than the fact that they're excited to see an aquarium? I have no basis to, these are questions that can be asked and we're unable to ask them. I don't know that that's what's going on. It's not fair to say that that's what's going on, but it is fair to say that when I knock on doors, that's a concern that people have, and we should be able to have the tools to follow up on that. That's the concern that we are seeing.
Pardon me, so the answer to my question, which is why, is for political reasons. That's all I've heard.
Thank you.
That's all I've heard. And I'm glad I don't live in your district because nobody's asking me those questions. I'm not saying they're not asking the questions, with all due respect. I do respect all of your concerns and questions, and we all have those rights to ask, but the answers I'm hearing are political. It seems to be a prevailing theme here. That concerns me a little bit. This legislature passed a resolution to spend $85 million on the aquarium. It drew the line on that $85 million, and it volleyed this whole thing back to the administration to say, hey, we're doing this project, but if we're running over, it's on you to make it happen. We're getting a report today on how it's happening. We've learned what those boundaries and limits are. for the sake of our guests who are, particularly you, Bill, volunteering your time to do this, which, as everyone else has said, it's very much appreciated. I think we keep the politics out of the equation, and let's get to the bottom line of what's going on with the committee, or the foundation rather, and move on.
Respectfully, we are in politics. How do we keep the politics out of politics?
This is not politics.
This is politics.
This
This is the spending of money. This is the raising of money on something that is intended as a public good. We are doing the work of the people. How is the politics
$85
not part of
million
this?
This body authorized
Right.
is being spent,
Yes.
right? The rest of it is being spent and being sought and obtained by the foundation to make up the shortfall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And how that is done within the spending within this project, as Attorney Durr mentioned, is governed in all kinds of different ways. So, we are not operational. The procurement laws, the procurement guidelines, the concern over certain relationships and the quote-unquote politics are covered quite well in how this money gets spent. And yeah, at the end of the day, that's all our accountability.
Right.
But I'm not
Oversight.
I'm not hearing politics. I'm hearing a report on what this foundation is supposed to be doing, how much money is raised, how much there is to go. The elephant in the room is there's a lot more money to go. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about how we get there.
Well-
Okay? So I just think all I wanted was some clarification on what the motivation was to know what the names of those donors were. The owners of that money, who control how their money gets spent. That's all. You guys know, I did not, I promised myself, I'm not going to say it. But
You can.
I'm not going to say it, no.
Okay.
But I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate you guys coming in. I appreciate the conversation we're having.
Minority Leader, I appreciate it. I don't want this to come off as politics. Within my own district, I think it's a bipartisanly heavy topic that draws criticism across the aisle. And so, if it came off in that, we certainly don't want that. I know in my district, it's not a well-received issue across both sides of the aisle.
Also, I just want to reiterate something that Leader May just said about this legislature has agreed not to put any new money into it. It's a part of why I'm asking about the recurring donations. I have a real fear that 2-3 years from now, we're going to be asked to put new money into it. And I don't want to do that, but he said some of the donations may be recurring, which gives me optimism that people are looking forward to this. And hearing him say, this is why I asked, hearing him say that gives me optimism that there is, growing.
I share your concerns.
Thank you.
And that's exactly why we're talking about this today, and it's exactly why I just want to keep the conversation as productive as we can make it.
Well, and to that point, we got into the conversation of naming rights. Again, we got some answers. There's obviously more to come, and hopefully the Friends of the Group is transparent, can come back to us when, in case the Ryans, do come up with a couple $1 million for naming rights of that big tank, so. Question, the term so your board, I'm sorry, Legislator Garland, I apologize.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just thank everyone for coming. I just wanted to encourage members of the committee and anyone else here, if you want a little bit of an explanation of how the voting went and why, we did have a meeting on this at our March 4th session last year. That's when we voted to form the Friends of the Aquarium. At that time, I asked about the contracts, I asked about anonymous donors and other things. It was a lengthy meeting, so it was streamed, it is taped. That might answer some of the questions that were asked, so I encourage anybody like me, I like to do my homework, so it is there and it is available.
My question was about your board makeup. So that's a new board, obviously. Everybody got instituted like last year. Are there terms? Are they staggered terms? And who has appointing power over that? That's just general knowledge.
There are terms and there are staggered terms. According to the bylaws, there's 3-year terms, there's 2-year terms, and there's 1-year terms.
Yeah. All right. Are those all county executive appointments? I wasn't on when they did any of the stuff before. Do any of the legislators recall? They're all county executive appointments? Yes. Okay. All right. Any other questions? I really do appreciate you coming in. I really do.
And the
Yeah.
great work you're doing.
Yeah.
And
Sorry?
the great work you're doing.
Yeah, and, at the risk of, I don't think I can leave here without saying that I hope, I've lived in this county my entire life, and I'm volunteering my time. That means I'm volunteering my integrity and my character, as is every other 8 board members that sits around me, that table with me. I go around that table in those board meetings, and there's no designation of party above their name as they're making decisions. There's only the interests of the county. This is probably one of the greatest cultural investments that the county's made in my lifetime, and since I've been here, and that's more than 6 decades. And we have a lot of things on the horizon occurring, and people want to come here to live and work with a cultural base. And once they do that, they spend money, and you have tax dollars and you have revenue. And that way it builds up your economic base, and then that way we can do more things for the people that deserve it the most by developing an economic base. So I think that's what we're doing around our table. I hope that what you folks do not in any way deter. I do not ever think, with all due respect, I don't know the gentleman that was asking the question, but if popularity is ever a litmus test for our county program, then I think we're down a road that you never want to be, because that means it swings. I think substance, should be the only principle that's important. And we take our jobs very seriously around that table. As County Attorney Durr said, we understand the ethical requirements of the county. We also passed, one of our first acts is to pass our own policies. We have our own ethical policy. We have our own conflict of interest policy. We have several other policies that would not allow us to get involved with some of the comments that were made here, et cetera. And so with that, I will continue to volunteer and try to do the best job I can for this county as a whole, because I see this as a great opportunity for us.
Thank you, Mr. Gilberti. All right. Next on our agenda, we're going to talk about the aquarium. You're going to meet them? That's all right. I'm not
You're
gonna-
talking about the vote last year? I was just looking into it. It wasn't about anonymity. It was about allowing the county executive to take private donations so they didn't have to be, what was it? It was previously that any donation over $1,500 would need a separate vote from the legislature.
Every time, yeah, like the same rules as well, like difference in Brian is just explained.
So, and it just so happens that with
Alrighty. Alrighty.
Spencer Alberto.
We're gonna do the aquarium. So Archie, I don't know if you're answering all these questions, some of these questions, or excuse me, Commissioner. But you just get started, and we'll see where it goes.
Everything you need to have answered. When the seat is warm.
it's the hot seat.
So, Mr. Ryan, would you prefer I write down your?
You can go right down the questions. Are you answering all these questions that I had sent over? Okay, all right. All right, go right to it.
You asked me to, I'll go right down.
Thank you, Mr. Gilberti. I really do appreciate it.
Was this a list of 28?
It was a lot, yeah.
So you had a question, sir. What percentage of construction is complete today? It's kind of a difficult question to answer, but I'd say about 65%. Some of it is much further along than others. You know, if you're talking about how much money has been spent so far, if you're talking about how much work we have ahead of us, ballparking, it's probably about 65%. I'm trying to balance the difference between, what we haven't paid yet, what they billed for, what we haven't paid yet, what they billed for, and then, the amount of construction activities that I see needing to happen in the next round of construction, which is a bit of an accelerated pace,
you've seen a lot of construction going on there, but it never goes at the same, concrete doesn't go at the same pace as the exhibits, as the tanks, let's just call it 65%.
Perfect. Keep going.
Are we on schedule for the planned opening date? Well, we haven't confirmed an opening date, so it's fluid.
Do we have a tentative date?
We are striving for finishing this during this summer season.
What do you consider summer, August or?
Well, I would say summer usually ends by Labor Day.
Okay, all right.
So we're making every effort to accomplish the completion of the project by then.
Okay.
But I don't want to.
And any legislators, if you have questions while we're going, please jump in because we're going to jump all over topics and it's easier to just address specific topics while we're on it.
Just to that fact, one of the things I hate to do is pin down a date because then that becomes everything.
Then you get beat up
we talk
over it. I
about
get it,
instead
yeah.
of, you know, what's really a success. What major components or phases still need to be completed? I'd say every single phase has levels of completion. So we had done, in phase one, we had done the shoreline stabilization and the surcharging of the site. Surcharging of the site is introducing weight to the site to pre-compress it and to instigate sediment. So that phase we've done, except for cutting down to level the sheet piles that we drove there for the shoreline stabilization. So, we still have a little bit of work to do there in that phase. Second phase that we did was the site work and the deep pile foundations. I'd say we're 95 to 99% done with that, but there's still just a little bit to do. In this phase, which has the majority of the work and the most complications, we have varying degrees of completions. I'd say we're complete with all the structural concrete, if you don't include sidewalks. I'd say we're complete with the roof, except the temporary roof section. Well, complete with the roof structure, except for the temporary roof section that we have to remove in order to drop the two largest panels into the building. So we have a temporary roof on this. I would say that the utilities are in place, except for National Grid asked us to reverse the direction that the utilities are coming in. So we installed all the utility corridors. Now we gotta move them over. So we have a lot of components to do yet. The most visual components that you would see still the need to be completed are really the exhibits and the tanks. All of the concrete tanks are in place, but they don't all have the acrylic glass in them. All of the fiberglass tanks are manufactured, but most of them are having the rock work done into them in the facility that's doing those in Indiana. So they'll be coming, and this is all part of our planned acceleration of progress, is they'll be coming with the majority of the rock work already in place. And, that was a good strategy. The rock work has begun in the main tanks, the signature exhibits. It'll be ongoing for quite some time, right up till the end of the job, till the corals are placed before the fish species go. So there's an awful lot of work to do in the next several months. I think each day is pretty captivating, and how much work I've done that day. Probably have 100 people on site a day on the average. And as you drive down either one of those thoroughfares, as you see the siding grow on the building, as you see the height on it grow on the building, as you see the moving of materials. If you remember 2 months ago, you would drive down there and you'd see a sea of cranes, right? Cranes sticking up. We had 6 cranes sticking up in the air. You go down there now and there's one. You got most of that heavy crane work done. We'll have them back there a couple of weeks to start placing some of the larger acrylic panels in. The first two large pieces of acrylic, of course, they're made overseas. They're in the New York port as we speak right now. So hoping that they slide through customs without them thinking we're trying to smuggle drugs in them. But, let's get them through customs, get them on the road, and get them in the building. So there's an awful lot of construction yet to do. I would say almost every phase has
Pieces
has
left.
to do.
Sorry.
Have there been any delays today? There's been delays on everything, right? We find ways to overcome them. So there's delays in contracting, there's delays in deliveries, there's delays in field changes, there's delays in everything, delays in waiting for testing results. It's a very complicated project. It's probably the most complicated project done in this area. I mean, larger projects have been done, but the project itself has so much complication to it. There's daily delays, and we find ways to overcome them, either by working longer hours, or us finding a new strategy to accomplish a certain task, or implementing other resources to make up that time.
Perfect.
What's the current total project cost as we sit today? It's $103,780,137.67.
Are you trolling me or? I think it's pretty good.
Give or take.
That's where we are today, and that is the complete appropriation we're gonna need to the construction, as we intended to.
Totally just need to ask this for my own knowledge. What was authorized and then the Friends have their 7.6. Does that number match up to what we have or what we need that you know of?
I guess I'm not quite understanding the question. What we need, it's our shortfall.
What was authorized? I guess I'm trying to.
So the authorization from the legislature a couple of years ago was the $85 million.
That was it, right? Just the.
That was the authorization.
Okay. All right.
There have been other funding sources that have helped close that gap. I want to be careful about saying that the Friends of the Zoo funds that they've described to you in the report
You're gonna get yelled at for the mic, right?
are all associated with construction. Because not all associated with construction. My construction costs ends at a line, and then some pre-operational costs, and then some operational startup costs, and the Friends of the Aquarium have a role in the overall mix of supporting the funding needs, or the introducing endowments to instigate further expansion years from now. So theirs isn't all.
So I guess, you got 85. There was some other stuff there. You got 7 from the Friends group.
So there was,
Thank you.
Christy Smiley, CFO. So the Friends Group gave the county $5.9 million. That is what has come into the county for construction costs.
I don't want to cut you off. Is there a reason they don't give you all of it, just for my own knowledge?
So that's under their purview in terms of how they donate.
Got it. Okay.
Can't answer
That was just.
so what's come into the county is $5.9 million from them. The original 85, there were other sources identified, including ARPA funds. The full 103 is funded in the county's budget and fully there.
Without using the Friends money?
No, including the
Friends
5.9.
money, With the Friends money. Okay.
So all the money is there to complete the
We
construction.
seem to
of
be
the
pretty
development.
good. Cool.
Yep.
So at this time.
Helpful,
our
thank you.
contracts are encumbered. Explain what you said. All of the contracts for the completion of the construction, they're all encumbered. So, that's where we stand today. It's my job to make sure that I'd do it for that amount of money that we have available. So you had the next question, unless you had anything.
No, that was it. I mean, I don't want you to get too in the weeds on the change orders. I guess that was, it sounds like we're fully funded. Is that our change orders, anything outside of the scope of going to bid and construction material changes? Is that, did we change the scope of what we wanted to do, since this originally had went through?
No, so, I mean, I can easily answer that question. The change orders that have been implemented so far, total in round numbers, $300,000, right? And they're included in what Christie has already, so they're already. The two primary change orders that we've had were to introduce a emergency generator transfer switch, which has high cost, and the county was intending to provide that as part of the project, separate from the bid of the contract. We found that the contractor could get better pricing than we could and could get it quicker. So we changed over to the contractor. Right. But it was an add alternate in their bid, but it was not a base bid item. So it became a change order in the amount of around $249,000. We also had an expectation that National Grid was going to provide a utility corridor. They stepped away from that, and we were required to provide it. It was going to be done through some billing choices, but we ended up doing that. We had to change order the plumbing contractor to put in the gas trench, so had to provide the natural gas. So it had somewhere around $37,000.
Does that change operating costs going forward? Because if, okay.
So when I say around $300,000, right? We don't see any in the headlights right now, so we're not seeing a problem. Cause us to have to make either a change or a value engineering decision. So fingers crossed, we've gotten over those hurdles. Is there a risk that additional funding will be required? I mean, the smart thing to say, the result is there's always a risk. Right? Every single project that's ever undertaken, private or public, always has risk. We believe that we can complete this project with what we have available right now.
Perfect.
Your next question, item 9, when will the tanks begin cycling? So I might need to qualify that a little bit, right? Because there's a little ambiguity with that question. There's so many different types of cycling within, I think, what you're saying. So if you had a specific question, I could answer it. But why don't I offer you a couple of the versions of it? Right? So,
Quick ones, yeah.
So the perception of tank cycling, probably the most common in layman's terms, is when a tank has to have, the introduction of a beneficial bacteria in order to begin the balancing of the pH in the system, because ammonia is released in the waste of the animals, and the bacteria breaks down the ammonia, turns it into nitrils, which then become nitrates, and then there's a balance of the pH in the tank.
There's no quiz at the end of this, right? I just want to make sure.
He's just making this all up.
Sure,
So
Flashbacks to seventh grade.
that's kind of the basic thing. Typically, I mean, if I want to speculate on why the question was, somebody may have presented the question about the timeliness of the turnover of the tanks for the functional turnover. Typically, they like to have about a 30-day period to acclimate that tank, to get the water qualities corrected in. And there's a lot of other things that go along with that, you know, the reverse osmosis, the ozone, the salination of it if it's the saltwater tank. All of that is part of the deal, but a lot of these things can be accelerated by introducing artificial accelerants, you know, for lack of a better term. That's what they do. They introduce, you know, things to instigate things. So we've tested function, pressures, volume, speed. You know, we've done a lot of them as we've reached different stages of these tanks. We've done leak testing in many of the larger signature tank exhibits. And we have made leak repairs. So as we're waiting for the acrylics to come to us. So we want to be well ahead of that and have no leaks whatsoever. And we haven't had any gushers, right? But we've had, you know, we've had some weeping, and then we have a practice to mitigate and remediate that leak. And the majority of it has been done where we've been able to do it. Certain levels of those tanks, we can't do that leak testing until the acrylics go in. But again, as I mentioned, you know, just a few minutes ago, we have a couple of large pieces of acrylic in New York. We have a lot of pieces of acrylic coming from Indiana over the next two weeks to 2 months. And as we set those, they have a curing period. For all of the silicone settings, it's a 21-day curing period. And while that period is being cured, we do other things in the tank. We do other test runs, the LSS systems, the life support systems. And, you know, we do everything we can so that we don't have a reactionary failure when we actually fill these tanks and turn them over to Zoshare.
The animals, when's your first animal coming in?
So we will probably be getting the first delivery of various species late July.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what's intended now.
Zoo Oceanarium does all that?
So Zoo Oceanarium coordinates all that.
Okay.
Okay, and they introduce those species. Some of them in between those periods, earlier than that period of late July, they'll begin being housed in various locations. So some of them will be quarantined before they go into a tank. We have some quarantine facilities on site. We have some tanks that are available for small species quarantining. We have, they've already made arrangements with some other aquarium vendors that are not more than a half day's drive from here that can help them store and stock and quarantine to get them ready for introduction into our tanks. Our own Carpenter's Brook Fish Hatchery is helping with some of the salmonid species, trouts. They're working with us. So Brian Kelly's team is already on it, and they'll be introducing a lot of that. Some of the available tanks that they'll have after they do their stocking. So they do their stocking this spring soon. They'll have some of the tanks that are available to help us quarantine and hold some of the other freshwater species.
Staffing. You have a executive director?
So the staffing that you're asking about right here are, they're part of the Zoo Oceanarium contract, right? So
it's just Brian Kelly as our,
no, so he's the board, right? So he's.
but once it falls under Parks.
So to a degree, right? So Parks will have the role in the interaction and the oversight, the operations of it after it's built. Before it's built, it's me. I hand it off to Brian. And Zoo Oceanarium is the is the contractor that actually does the full operation of the facility. We don't staff it except for the need for some skilled trade support. But the only other thing that Brian Kelly's team will be doing was helping us with some lawn care and the regular routine common area maintenance is part of the contract with Oceanair.
So with the staff that are those tradesmen or whatever, are they full-time down there? Are they out of your office spot check for issues?
So similar to other facilities that we have, like the War Memorial Convention Center, the amphitheater, the MBT Stadium, where these are large event centers, they're all done by work orders, right? Unless there's some crisis and we deploy somebody, immediately.
You don't anticipate a need for additional staffing within your department for that?
My department will not increase staffing to operate this aquarium.
Will
It's not intended.
Commissioner Kelly's need, okay, thank you.
I was gonna say it was an operator that we wouldn't be operating.
Operating the entire,
Oceanarium will be the operator of the facility.
okay. So are there any county staff people on site throughout the day? Besides for when you send them down there to fix the lights or he sends them to mow the lawn?
Yeah,
No.
So there will be people in and out of there to address, an issue, a skilled trades issue, but there won't be anyone that will be there on site full-time in my department. And I guess Brian can answer that for his department.
Very similar to what we do with the amphitheater, with MBT Stadium. They're county facilities. We won't increase our staff levels at all, but where we need to, do some things, but we won't operate this any differently than we do MBT, the amphitheater, and some of these other places we have like that under contract.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So the executive director and the senior management, they've been chosen by Oceanarium. We've been introduced. We've been working with them. They've been part of our project meetings. They communicate with me almost daily. They communicate with Brian Kelly almost daily. And, we're working towards the handoff to them, to be as seamless as we possibly can. They have some people that they've hired already. I think they have a staff right now of 5.
So once we're up and running, oversight will fall under Commissioner Kelly to just say, hey, we think you're doing a good job, you're not doing a good job.
That's what's intended now, except for the fact that, like the other facilities, there's a separation where, my department will address any major building issues.
And if we think they're not doing some things we'd like them to do, Commissioner
That would be
Kelly.
Brian.
Okay.
Yep. I hand it off, I walk away, I go build something else.
There you go. Okay. All right. We'll keep moving because everybody's done with me at this point. Opening and public access, what is the anticipated opening date, which you kind of answered vaguely. Well, okay, I don't blame you for that one. Is there a soft opening? I gotta imagine this thing's gonna be like stocked, like you said, 30 days ahead, all that stuff. And then, there's gonna be people that go there. So what are crowd management and parking and what's our game plan for all that?
Right, so the parking, traffic flow, and the crowd management, again, is all bought and paid for with the Zoo Oceanarium group.
They do all that.
Yes, we won't be required to do anything. Similar to the amphitheater, we have the ASM Legends group that runs the amphitheater, handles all the parking, picks the vendors, picks the other contractors, they operate it. They clean up when they're done.
Can I ask how much parking we do have there?
I'm sorry?
How much parking is there?
On the property, there's will be parking for, because it's not, we haven't graded it yet. About 50 cars and about 30 cars for employees. There's street parking, right in front of it, right on Solar Street. It has space parking for, last time I counted them, it was like 48 cars. So on the street, and there's folks that are underway of making some
Plans.
making some commitments to parking. I can't disclose any of that because I don't know all the details of it.
Yep.
So
Do we anticipate do we anticipate, that stuff, those other parking lots, do we anticipate them to be open by the end of the summer?
I would certainly anticipate that whatever parking needs that we have will be in place by the time we open.
Okay. But these outside entities, I mean, we're gonna control what we can control, but, these other entities that own property down there that have to permit through the city or something, do we know if they're on track?
So I haven't been able to enjoy those negotiations yet. Others have been taking.
Deputy County Executive?
Brian Donnelly, Deputy County Executive. Yeah, we're working with adjoining property owners on really what'll probably be a short-term parking solution over the next couple of years. We're also working with some of the property owners down there on some larger parking discussions for what's anticipated for need going forward for other developments that are going down there. We're looking with some of the folks down there on open lots and parking garages, but that would be long-term.
In the immediate, do they have to pave these lots, or can we just drive on them as they are?
Some of the lots down there and parking are parkable right now.
Okay.
Some might need some small improvements, some run across or things like that and some soft areas, but.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it, Deputy County Executive. Financial sustainability, obviously,
So now you guys,
you talked about handing the keys over here in a little bit, so I don't know if that's,
well, I mean, I know it kind of got pounded, in
that was a good one.
the
Yeah.
discussions before I sat here.
Yeah.
Like, there has been no change in the projections from our studies.
Okay.
It's still expected to, without the aquariums involved, or the Friends of the Aquariums involvement, it is still expected to come into the black.
Okay.
So that's the expectation of of how successful it'll be.
Okay. And there hasn't been any further studies on, possible attendance or anything of those metrics?
They haven't changed.
Okay.
I know there's been some suggestion that the previous projections may increase with all the developments that's coming into the area because, it was not completely identified the level of those projects when our studies first began. Right? So, that our development here with the big developments that are happening, they weren't completely formalized at the time we began the aquarium.
Okay.
So it could only get better.
Yes, let's hope. And then last couple, local partnerships, schools, universities, those are in place.
So what I'd like to offer to you is soon, I understand that the county executive is going to make some announcements.
Next Thursday.
To, to show some folks what he's been able to gather as support from these community organizations.
So we'll find out next Thursday. Got it. Okay.
Can I go back to the parking quickly?
Yes.
That you worried me. Okay, so I'm a bit worried. You mentioned 50 spaces, 48 street parking, but the deputy county executive did say there are some coming online. I want to say the projections were about 1,500 people per day. So
if I could help you out.
Yeah,
we
please.
expect that we understand that the average tour is going to be a 2-hour tour for a spectator. And we know of the hours of operation that we're projecting that at any given time, we should need about 300 parking spaces. So that's what we understand that we should need within that period of that day. And of course it rotates, right? People come, others and they get out. So
And we feel
need standing about 300 spaces. That's in that feasibility study that we've already shared.
yes, we feel confident that we're gonna get to that 300 per day, 300 spots by launch.
Well, I don't know about by launch, but I said, if you spread it out over 2-hour periods, it should be, by launch.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
by Labor Day.
Yes, so I started thinking my answer to it, and I said,
Oh no, you're good.
So that was.
I heard 50, and then you
So
scared me.
we
But
do-
300 sounds.
We do expect to have 300 available spaces at a minimum.
By dinner.
By dinner.
Deputy County Executive, the lots that are not ours, that are, other entities, are those going to be contracted with us to allow us to park there, or are they gonna be, paid parking? Private, like, the people show up, they pay to park there, first come, first served for the free parking spots at the aquarium.
The short answer, legislators, I'm not sure. It'll probably be a mixture of free parking and paid parking.
Okay. Okay.
So, but I don't have that mixture that I could commit to at this point.
Okay. If you get that information, that we are entering into contracts with some of these other people, would the aquarium contract with them, or would the county contract with them? Say you got a guy, he's got a lot, he charges $1,000, whatever a month,
We'd follow the model like we use up at the AMP. We would have Zoo Oceanarium do the contracting for that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Your next question, I believe, I can move forward with it, the community programming and educational initiatives. So they will be partnerships with local educational institutions, and there'll be partnerships with Brian Kelly's team and some of the resources of the Friends of the Aquarium Foundation.
Okay.
So it is absolutely expected there's going to be those resources, that implementation of those programs.
And I'm guessing the last question is gonna say Zoo Oceanarium is gonna do the marketing and attraction.
So they are in the middle of doing marketing right now.
Okay.
They are working with the marketing group, and they are getting promotional literature together. They're fine tuning some upcoming advertisements.
Last question, that's on my thing. As we approach completion, what are the 3 biggest risks that could still delay opening and increase costs?
Well, the ship could sink with the acrylic.
I sure hope not.
We could have a national disaster. I guess the one we don't want to talk about is you guys could find a way to stall me.
Yeah. We'll see what we can do.
Everything that could hurt the completion is really at this point an unforeseen condition, something that would just be speculative right now. So, we are certainly doing everything we can to avoid.
And are most of the, I guess for the finance center, most of the 103 is kind of spent, contracted, in place? We're not out, there's nothing outgoing that we just, got a $10 million ticket that could come back at 14 or something?
No.
Okay.
All of the construction is under contract right now.
Okay, so we're good to open roughly 103. Okay.
Yes.
All right, questions about the aquarium from legislators?
I just want to say, thank you. This is probably one of the more comprehensive reports we've had, and the information shared was exceptional, and I appreciate you being on top of it all.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Commissioner. Okay, we're gonna keep moving.
I make a motion to move number 4 to the next.
Oh, geez, do we gotta do that? Okay, all right. We gotta,
I'd like to make a motion to move agenda item number 4 to the next meeting. I have to go. Is there a second?
All right, and then you get to vote.
can I not do that?
I don't think so. Any member of a committee can put forward a motion at any time about an item. So I believe
I'm getting a nod from the back.
He is within his right to make that motion.
So he made the motion.
Yeah.
Got a second.
He seconded, then we move this to the next meeting and address this at next committee meeting?
Because there's nothing we're going to be addressing in session on this, correct?
No. It is possible you could hold another committee meeting at your choosing. That is also within your right. So maybe next Tuesday.
Is there anything in that needs to be done today?
No. No. Okay, fine. Vote.
All right.
All in favor? Aye.
opposed, yeah, okay. All right, we got other stuff on this agenda, folks. Yeah, but it's light. Just a couple quick conversations, and I appreciate, you know, the legislators that have been here.
I think that's what just.
That's what I just moved to the next.
Oh,
meeting.
that's what you just moved? I thought you were moving the aquarium. I was like, why are we doing that? Got it. Got it. It was an informational session. I was like very confused there. You guys don't want to talk about this stuff? It'd take 5 minutes.
Could it really take 5 minutes?
It's fine. I don't think the county executive wants this on Ways and Means, you know? It's an audit for the vehicle thing.
Oh, that's on that's on the agenda.
The discussion of, no, it's these defunct bodies. It's these defunct bodies and Vehicle Use Review Board. It doesn't have to be done this month.
I'm not trying to move there.
You're fine.
I'm just.
God damn it, Rich, we could have freaking finished the thing. I should have done it. All right, motion to dismiss.
Second.